Okay, so last we left off, we're going to do a little bit differently this session from something I saw on another podcast. And just because we're about to go into a Speak with Dead, I would like you guys to recap what we know so far, facts rather than opinions. So it's a free player chat to basically get stuff out on the table that might be brewing in the brain, or where the directions are going, kind of thing. Basically, what do we actually know? Out of character, facts from discovering things up until this point. What do we know?
I was going to have time to eat. Let me grab my notebook.
What do we know?
Well, whilst also recap, so
really,
where are we? We're currently in the Khorvaire jungle. Like, what's got us here? What do we know is happening? That kind of thing. Just because I think it's kind of a clear moment now to just recollate all the thoughts before we get to like a major town or something, and then be like, oh no, we don't know which way we're gonna do anything because we're still speculating.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Dale?
I guess.
Were you gonna say something, Dale?
Oh, yeah, I suppose just the way we know at least that part of the like they're obviously been out here doing this for quite some time, sort of thing, but we don't know.
Okay.
What have you
So
got?
we know the Yellow Emperor is like our shadow that we are chasing. Really, is I guess like the first big thing. We know that. Well, we're assuming he's connected, obviously, to the yellow-eyed, tentacly something that you keep seeing, and is supposedly on the other side in the dream world, leading the Dalkir, trying to get this massive army through supposedly one of these gates that we're seeing around the place.
Sure, and
That's all we know.
And we know that Dalkir are kind of demons, devils, that kind of thing in Eberron. So he's in another plane that, or at least that Hera has seen. And the connection is that you have found some traces in all locations almost that you've gone to that the Emerald Claw have been in.
Yeah. Moving, I guess, onto the Emerald Claw, then we know that they are associated with, if not fully, are completely shapeshifters. We know that the shapeshifters.
I think that's a fair thing to say, that the Emerald Claw is definitely made up of shapeshifters. There are good shapeshifters out there, like Dre, that you met, and so on and so forth, that were trying to be convinced by the Emerald Claw, but the Emerald Claw are a band or a cult or whatever you want to call them of shapeshifters.
Yeah, almost trying to unite shapeshifters under this thing. What else? So we know that they're. What was it? What was the legend we heard about them, or about like the origin of shapeshifters, and then something got imprisoned, or
We heard about Tyrannesh, like Tyrannesh retreating underground, building a tomb with safeguards around it, trying to find the lost continent of Mu. That was like a while ago, and I think we've had an update to that. She's trying to find the continent of Mu through the Dreamlands, Dolkor safely. So we found that like at the at the ziggurat, and then recently we had an update to that, which I think Hero was it your dream or something that it was? Because it was quite recent as well, wasn't it? It was like
I'm trying to think of when Tyranish was recently mentioned. Unless it was maybe like a memory or something that we thought about, or
Possibly. In speaking to your point, Ian, yes, the Delkier demons and such used to be on the material plane. It was chaos, it was fire and brimstone and everything, until they got banished to somewhere.
Yeah.
Tyranish was, I think, aiding in that, or had some part to do with that. And then part of her legend was that she is a, for lack of a better word, a plane walker, a world walker. So she has figured out a way to go to different planes, and that is why Jaroska wanted to get their hands on her.
And we think, didn't we, when we first went to the dream world in the pyramid in the ziggurat, did we?
Sorry, it sounded like such gibberish.
It's like that Instagram reel when it's like, whenever I talk about Warhammer to my girlfriend, it's like, oh, you want to go?
It's like the Charlie Brown womp 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 womp.
I hope you're taking notes, Alex. You're gonna get quizzed on this. Sorry, carry on, Ian.
I've lost my train of thought now. The dream world. When we first went to the dream world, didn't we see? Well, we think we found her body, and we think we found her in the dream world, right?
Yes, correct.
Tyranish.
Yeah.
She was like in stasis or something in the dream world. Like she was.
Yep. Asleep in stasis. That could be self-made or whatever. But coming back into the real world, you found her ring, and you worked out that connected to her wherever she was walking.
Yeah. And we gave that to who?
Shapiro. Jaroska. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which I suppose we now know is mainly Warforged.
Well, yeah. So going on to Jaroska.
Oh, just really quickly, I was going back through my notes just quickly then. And one thing that I do have written down is that, like, as much as I think in character Puck maybe doesn't think it, but like Jurassico and the Emerald Claw are very definitely enemies.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Like Puck basically sees them both as his enemy at this time.
Sure.
But like they're definitely enemies of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we what we don't understand is why they seem to be trying to do pretty much the same thing, but they're definitely enemies. But yeah, let's move on to Jurassico.
Yeah, because that is a great point, and that they are, well, as far as we can tell, seem to be trying to do the same thing, or at least they want to be the ones doing it first.
That might be more it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Which
it's more almost control over the situation.
Yeah.
Of what gets released.
From what we've seen, it seems like what they're trying to do is open up one of these gates and let through the army. So whether or not Jaroska is trying to stop that, or it seems like they are. They're just taking drastic measures to do it, i.e., sending a team of 4 assholes into a cave with a bomb.
Which is what's confusing is what we don't understand is, like, they obviously killed the dragon, and the Emerald Claw wasn't necessarily killing the dragon. They were like poisoning it.
Hmm.
So what we don't understand, we basically we don't understand what these gates
Well-
do. And if we knew what the gates did, or rather like what the function of killing or not killing the dragon did, that might help us.
I
I don't-
kind of just personal guessing is that the dragon was almost the gatekeeper of this, space and the material plane where the veil is thin, I guess. And the fact that it was weakened was making the veil smaller, is I guess what I was imagining.
Alright, so to not kill him but to weaken him makes that door easier to open, sort of thing.
Which that would make sense
Yeah.
because upon arrival, the Fons was starting a ritual to open the gate. So that would line up thoughts. If you get the gatekeeper subdued or out of the way, then opening this gate to wherever you want it to go to would be a lot easier to achieve.
And I imagine it's no easy feat to actually just take out a dragon. So poisoning it is probably a far easier option.
Which then also had an
Trying-
effect on the land around it,
Yeah.
being its domain.
Yeah. Which, as players, we know dragons do. But don't know if Hera probably knows about that.
Yeah. I mean, and also talking to the people in New Throne, the Moon Mother's sick, it's ruining the land, blah blah. It's they're aware of that effect taking place.
Yeah. Back to Jarosco.
Sure.
So what we know from them is that supposedly they started off as human or humanoid. What are they?
That's the
They're,
specific branch so Jarasco is an old house. It's one of the like dozen houses or something like that. The branch that we know of from Sara Luska was founded by Josu Keeling in 915, I think I had written down, which I don't even know what the hell the year is now. But that branch seems to have started off humanoid.
1002. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I do think that's significant because we also know that Jarasco was getting letters. Like, so Josu was getting letters from the rest of the house being like, "Stop what you're doing,"
Yeah.
and did not stop.
I think that's an important thing as well. Even stepping back from DM as well, is this adventure is for this branch that you're dealing with. Like, you're not going to have to cure the whole continent of all the Red Cross in the world kind of thing. Like, it's obviously these specific ones that you're dealing with, but we can obviously continue to call them Jarasco because that's who we're interacting with.
That's
Yeah. These guys, sometime either during or after the war, probably during, because it seemed like their initial thoughts, I guess, were replace part of the time. Replace a missing arm, replace a missing leg, replace a missing torso. I guess it got to
Sure.
and then replace the lot, but. Whether or not that was, did it start off as like a medical thing, as like a legit, hey, we're trying to help people injured in the war, or was it from the start that we're trying to figure out how to become warforged and therefore stop themselves from dreaming?
Do we know that when the place started,
Which one?
The house?
all of it, all of 1,000 Mirrors?
It's very old.
Very old. It's always been a location of Jarosco. So that probably does tie in with what Ian is saying, is that the research might have been there and started with, why don't we try and replace someone's arm? We do know from the letter that Josu was in charge here, conducting research of some kind.
We also happen to know that Josu was an alchemist, so it makes a bit of sense as to like some of what's happening.
Yeah. Interesting that sleep and
We also. We also met Kelly Keeling.
Yeah.
Back in Vatheron.
Who we happen to now know that, what was it? So that she got kicked out, and they said something like the flesh is, what is it, like perfection comes from the cold. So I guess we take from that maybe she's not a shifter, and she like disapproved of what her relative was doing. Many scenes, tall figure in Star Alaska yelling, "Get out! Perfection comes from the cold!" And a woman fleeing recognized Callie Keeling, ostracized for being a shifter. So she is a shifter.
Yeah.
Callie is a shifter, and Josu is now a warforged.
Yeah.
So are they? So maybe that was it. Is that they turned themselves into warforged to cleanse themselves of the curse?
Well, okay, so what I've got written, hang on, so the next scene was that there's a cult-like candlelit scene of conspiracy, Callie and LaFons inducing sleep. So she's working with LaFons, who I think, I don't actually know if he worked out LaFons himself was a shifter, but certainly he was working with the shifters.
LaFons was definitely a shifter.
Okay, when I go back to session 24, recently, like, so this is about Jurasco. Jurasco recently learned about the shifters who appeared to be natives to the land. A religious schism split the shifters. Some worship demonic overlords, others worship the corruptor, who plants ideas in the weak-minded. This faction calls themselves the Emerald Hand. Those who worship the demonic overlords tend to hide out below the crust, so I guess underground. The Emerald Claw, on the other hand, is working towards a plan that spells disaster for Khorvaire, organizing and coordinating the efforts across the land. So somehow there's a Keeling on either side of that, basically.
I guess we just put a pin in it for now. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just by the way, just a reminder, because I saw it the other day. We have, I don't know who has it, but we have a stone of sending. We can contact anyone we've met before.
That's correct.
It's true.
So if we want, like, hey, where is Callie? Callie, can we talk to you? We could do that.
Yeah. We do have a proper Rocky in our.
Yes, although we don't know if anyone's able to listen into that information, but whatever.
Yeah, because
cool.
we got it from
You got it from Shapiro.
Onus or whatever it was, yeah.
Onus, yeah.
All right. So back on the not Keeling. Oh my gosh, what are they called? Jurasco.
Yeah.
We know that they were at some point, turning people into Warforged, including or starting with themselves. That we need to find out if that was voluntary, because it doesn't seem to have been voluntary. At least for Shapiro.
At first, it would have been voluntary, but I think doesn't he say in his notes he started running out of like people from the war, so they had to get people in specifically.
I don't know, but we know that there's some kind of partnership there with House Cannith.
Yes, we do. We just learned that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was from the diary.
Yeah. Oh, was it from the diary? Or it was from the diary.
From the diary.
And then there was also like the note or something like that.
But yes, as far as you do know for a fact that Onus and Shapiro are both Warforged because you restarted them in the house.
Should have just let them off.
I think the other thing is, in terms of like what we were planning, we're hoping to get to one of those other locations we found on that map.
Sure.
So that's either to I can't remember the name, Shan.
Yep.
Or to the volcano we assume exists in the Maror Holds. but we don't really know what's like. We know kind of what's there, maybe, but like we don't really know what's there. We just know something's going to happen in those places,
Right?
And we know that the Orndare one is done with whatever that butterfly thing was. Orndare is done, and we know that my brother was there.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
You're going to say something, Dale?
Yeah, I was, but now I've sort of thought. I was going to say we should probably do maybe head to the Shan one first, because I thought we might be able to try and get some research of what's in the moorholds while we're in Shan, maybe. But I also don't know what we're looking for in Shan, so.
Also, to that point as well, should we really be returning to Shan empty-handed with no things to bring back?
I
to
love
the
the eyebrows from Jude's like, well, hold on.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of like, what do you mean return? Oh, right. You go.
I mean,
because I assume that's where Hera's planning on researching.
It'd be a good spot to.
So we would be providing them with, I guess, a lot of knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah, I was going to say I would probably want. We want to talk.
I don't know how.
Without asking
how keen I am on going straight back to Shan.
Yeah,
before knowing what Kenneth has to do with this. You know what I mean? Like before we just go charging back.
Yeah.
Charging back home.
in talks of how we're getting anywhere, what is our plan going to be for movement? Are we going to get back to New Throne?
I think we have to go back to New Throne. Well, unless we're going to go across the mountains to we have the two options. We can go back to New Throne and try and find a sky ship, which will be costly. We can assume that's not going to be cheap. Or we go across the mountains and to the the something reaches.
Raw Hole.
Oh, that's Talent's Plains.
Yeah, that's where my people.
And then and then hopefully find aid from your people.
Now, keeping in mind that you do have that sending stone, so Puck, you probably could contact someone you know and get a hold. So yeah, those are what I see as your two options: as you head back to the city and either pay your way, talk your way, or whatever your way onto a vessel of some sort, or you head to the mountains and kind of go for the path of that's kind of Puck's homeland is you're getting into. That might be a bit safer. It's been Puck, maybe a year or two since you've been right back home.
Yeah,
but you've got connections there. Like you would definitely know people there. You're not a stranger to those parts.
I'm not avoiding it for any particular reason.
And like, by get their help anyway. What more do we need than just knowing the way north and like what's best to? Because I don't think we're going to get any form of skyship or anything there. But maybe we can catch a train half the way or something like that, and then you just let us know. But something did just occur to me, as I assume it has already occurred to you, Jed, since you brought up the sending stone just then. And it might be useful to get some answers maybe even before we cast Speak with Dead, depending on what you want to do. But do you want to send a message to your brother?
Yeah, I think Puck is concerned that whatever we talk about will be overheard.
Right, yeah. Great call.
Which is fine. But I might...
Especially if he's working with them anyway.
He sent a coded message recently. That was like, hey, huh?
I think with that train of thought, it's probably worth mentioning that Shapiro gave you the sending stone.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a coded message from my brother that was basically like, hey, don't come back to Star Alaska.
Yeah.
He's like, keep your head out of the stars if you can help yourself. Nothing good there. Yeah, and like I think about steel, which I guess is like Warforged. So I think he is aware of some of what's going on. I don't think there's a problem with asking him, and like equally, we can speak to each other in Thieves' Cant. It is a spoken language as well as a written language.
Yeah.
So at least that can help to make it harder to understand. Please don't try and make me roleplay that, Reese. I've got no idea.
Just start talking about Warhammer in front of someone that doesn't play.
Just start speaking to Cockney.
Yeah.
You're right, Laurie.
That's kind of how I always imagine it. It is. It's kind of like that rhyming slang.
Yeah.
And like just like it's language you understand, but you just have no idea what any of it means.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it that whole thing is it takes like twice as long to say anything in Thieves' Cant because you're kind of, it's like every other word you're like saying a sentence, but it's like the two in the middle that matter, or like one either end, or
it's like I rang them on the dog and bone as opposed to I rang them on the phone. And it's like so that will limit us. Although the Sending Stone, does it have charges? Do we know? I think because who has it? I thought Ghost had it.
I think Ghost is holding on to it.
I think we can. Yeah, and I think we can use it once a day. You cast the spell sending once a day.
Yeah, I'm very happy to do that, and I could ask him in Thieves' Cant what happened in Arundir or whatever it is. Maybe because that's the question that occurs to me. But is there anything else you guys think we should ask?
No, I think that's good because I was thinking about that earlier in the week actually, about whether or not we should try and ask the dead about any of the points on the map, whether he knows anything about the relevance or importance of those points. Maybe he could be worth asking about the Moorholds one. If you can ask your brother about the Undear one.
So I'm fine either way, but we're saying it's more advantageous to know what's coming rather than what's already happened.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I think at least for one of the questions.
I get one. I think I might only get like one or two questions.
I think for sending the wording is like 25 words.
Yeah, and I was like, I was going to say,
it's not very long.
Like, it's Puck. I'm safe. What happened in blah? And that's already, a third of our words.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's Puck. I'm safe.
And also, like, you could use 25 words in English, and I know you're casting them in Thieves' Cant. That's fine. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, it's extra words because it's Thieves' Cant. It's like, no, that's fine.
Yeah, but I guess we can ask that. Like, can say, like, is Dale frozen? Or is
yes, I think he is.
Still? It's Puck. I'm safe. They tried to kill us. I probably wanted to know that. They tried to kill us. And then like, what happened in? Oh, so what do you know? What's happening in Rawholds or in Shan? And even like, should we stop it?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Did you catch that, Dale?
Yeah. Sorry, my internet lagged out a little bit there.
So good.
But I caught the last half of it. But yeah, that sounds, I think, from what I heard, that sounds
okay.
Like a plan.
So it looks like we're getting into speculation of what to do. So is there anything else we want to just confirm or check before we go to present time? Confirm, check, or share, I should say.
I think that we really should use Speak with Ed while we're here. I don't think there's going to be any advantage to us not using it.
Yeah.
Before we leave. That being said, I'm pretty happy to leave this place. Like, I think we've pretty much we've got out of this place. And my opinion is the fastest way to get somewhere is going to not be walking. But depending on what happens and what we find in the next little bit, we may choose to walk over the mountains.
I'm leaning towards New Throne as well.
I think we go back to New Throne. There's all but certainly going to be something that's going to Shan, just because it's the biggest city, the capital city. Like, it makes sense that there would be something happening. Or
Yeah.
at least it's something that, that gets us to a place that has a lightning rail to then, get there, kind of thing. So that makes sense to me. Equally, if there was someone who's taking a ship up to the Maroor Holds, I think we should go there first because it's more remote.
Mm-hmm.
It's also closer to where we are
and
currently.
we're way closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I suppose
take us way less time.
We could always try and see there's the library and New Throne. We could always try and research the more holds there.
For sure.
Yep.
And just,
I mean, when we get back, we might find that like someone's like, "Yeah, I'm going to the Maroor Holds," but like in a day or so, when all my cargo is here and loaded,
Sure.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose time-wise depends, but
yeah. Like, we've got money, we can pay our way.
Yeah. Or at least stuff to trade.
Yeah.
yeah. That's true.
All right. So shall we do the sending first then?
Yeah.
And then do speak with Dead.
Dead. And I think we stick with the 5 questions that you had put up in your thing as well.
Yeah, I think I was like, maybe we can change one of them, but like, let's go about that. Cool. All right.
Okay.
You can also see what the answers are. They might answer more than one question, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so as you guys come back up from the labyrinth of the library, casting spells transferring to some sort of dream world to converse with the hag in the Hall of 1,000 Mirrors, you got shown 2 different visions. One of the intentions of House Jarosco, one of the intentions of the Emerald Claw. I believe Ghost is going to send me one, so we could get a little bit more lore out of that. But for what we know now, that's what's going to determine the Speak with Dead. We're not going to retcon too much, but we could go forward with some more information later. Coming back topside, Garunda mentions that it has been a day and a night since you went down, putting you at the next morning, basically, as all of you are starting to feel a little bit tired with the day ahead of you, but no thing of exhaustion just yet. He says that he's ready to head off. I believe that might not have mentioned it, but he is definitely going back to New Throne. He's going to submit some writings to a magazine. He's going to get his stuff together and carry on. He's got work to do. He's come for what he needed and is going to write up a little piece on what state the Hall of 1,000 Mirrors is in at the moment. But he will give you some time to sort yourselves out. He sees that you've got some stuff to do, so what he does is go out and leaves you guys be in the facility.
I suppose another little thing it would be, is there any more exploring we want to do in this place? Because there was potentially the thing of opening up one of the cocoons.
There was that. That was downstairs.
We could, yeah.
I reckon we do information first, and then
Yeah.
But yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, we went back and got that rifle. Like, what's the other stuff? And yeah, there's still those cocoons maybe to look at.
Yeah. So yeah, Ghost has got the rifle, and the cocoons you kind of have left to the side a little bit, but they are still there as you walk past them. But as of now, you are left in the facility by yourselves. Garunda closes the door behind him and goes outside.
Good.
All right. Well, Ghost, can I have that?
Nope. Pass over the sending stone. It's kind of,
Get my dice out of my little.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, that's sick.
That's from the Lego set, right?
Yeah, it was like a gift with it. The whole Lego set. It's massive.
Jeez.
Oh, yo.
Look at that.
It's huge.
Very cool.
Nuts.
All right. Yeah, I'll get that off first. Are we ready?
So,
All right. I will grab a hold of the stone and think of my brother.
Uh-huh.
Probably a younger version of him that I can really remember.
Sure.
Currently is. Some memories flip past of, just like our childhood and, watching him climb trees and train and sort of trying to chase after him and kind of struggling because I was younger and that kind of stuff. And having fixed him in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
I will start my message.
Sure.
It's Puck. I'm safe. They tried to kill us. What is happening in Shan and the Mrawholds? Anything else to say? Was there anything else we wanted to say?
How many words?
do you want to ask him if he's safe?
I'm assuming he'll reply with that. Maybe I know you went to Orndare. Don't trust anyone at Jurassico. That's it.
Okay.
And again, sorry, yes, in Thieves' Camp.
Sure. You guys hear Puck speaking into the sending stone, and you think you're following along with the sentence, but hold on, has he just wasted? What is he going on? Anyway, you trust him.
I wouldn't.
Well, you trust that he's doing what he said he was doing. Not calling in an airstrike on the Hall of a Thousand Mirrors while you're still standing in there. Okay, can you just say it one more time, just so I've got it fresh in my head?
Yeah, I will maybe not say it in exactly the same words.
But yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Cool. So it's Puck. I'm safe. They tried to kill us. What's happening in Shan and the Mrawholds? I know you went to Orndare. I didn't really say I'm in Kabara, but I guess I can't add that in. That's fine. That's fine. And then
don't trust Jurassico.
Don't trust anyone in Jurassico.
Okay, so the moment passes and you hold onto the sending stone. You kind of put it to your ear. You're not really sure how this message is going to come back, but eventually you and you alone hear inside your head almost a high pitch ringing. Almost sounds like static and maybe like a 2K tone before it mutes down and you hear your brother's voice reply. And he only has 25 words as well. It says, Puck. Good to hear, was worried. What is happening in Shan and the Mrawholds? Locations needed to retrieve items. Jurassico very keen. Orndare completed. They don't need everything. Then that ringing comes back.
Can you go through it one more time for me? Sorry.
Yep. So, Puck, good to hear. Locations needed. What did I say? For
items.
items. Locations needed for items. Jarosco very keen. They don't need everything. You get the implication that there is something at each of those locations that Jarosco is keen to get their hands on, but they don't necessarily need everything to do what they want to do.
Okay. I will. Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like he's alive at least. That's comforting. He said that the locations, there seem to be items at the locations that Jarasco is very keen on obtaining, but they don't need all of them. Was there an item in the? Was there an item at the Moonmother's place that we?
Oh, I was just trying to think that.
There was the gate.
Is this? Yeah. Would I consider that an item in the context of how he said it?
It could be more like a piece of a puzzle.
Yeah. Maybe item is the wrong word. It's more getting across. You more get the sense that he did not say, yeah, there's gates in each of those locations.
Yeah, there's something significant at each location.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, which you kind of knew anyway, but we do now know that they don't need all of them. No. So there are 2 out of 4, already done. As far as we're concerned.
Maybe it's don't need all of them in the same sense that, because this is one thing we missed in our little recap, but if what they are doing is pinpointing these 4 locations because the cross section is an X marks a spot, then obviously they only need 3 of them. The same way we only needed 3 of them when we went.
Only if you know where the 4th is, which they do. And so that crosshair kind of goes through the Mournland.
Yeah, I think Molokov, on that terms of thinking, it might not be a specific location they need, but maybe they just need at least 3 items to do something at the location.
Yeah. Okay. We didn't really talk about that. Like, yeah, whatever they're doing has a lot to do with the Mournland, and there's something about the Mournland that is very similar to the Dream.
The Dream world. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I suppose that helps us a bit. Also, this is just me seeing it now, but I don't know if everyone's got Roll20 open.
Nope.
I know. What have I done?
No, it's not a problem.
Oh, right.
In the Mournland, there's a place called Tronish.
That is not a relation. I'll point that out right now so you don't chase that butterfly.
Let me go get my Deerstalker cap out.
No.
Okay.
Now, I do realize that Dolkor, the Dreamland, and Delkir, demons, are very similar, but no.
Incredibly similar.
Tronish has no relation to Tiranish.
Okay, cool. It's just something like, you son of a bitch. No. All right, cool. All right, well, there's that. At least we know.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh no, have I left like a note up or something on the map that's just like, this is the location you need to go to?
Something like that. I was like, oh, fuck, what
Especially if it was like you accidentally left it on for one of us, and you're like, how the hell does Hera just always know where the next step is? What is going on here?
No, we have to go specifically to the Moorholds at Cobra Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halfway between
the easiest way to get there is
it's draw the route.
If we go back to New Throne, we'll find a captain. His name is this, and for this much money, he'll take us there.
You go to the docks. You're like, can I speak to Captain this? And I'm like, what? How do you know this person?
Oh, that would get you. That would really get you. All right. Cool. All right. Well.
So, yeah.
We know we have to go to one of them, and it's probably just depends on which one we can get to, and which one we can get to first.
That'll depend on what our transport options are. Let's make it back to the city.
So, in terms of questions to ask,
Ghost holds up his skull.
Yeah.
Be or not to be.
Well, it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or by by opposing end them. Man, that's taken me back like
Damn.
10 years.
Yep.
More than. It's like 13 years now since I was in. No, it's even more. Oh my gosh, it's so long ago. The things you remember, right? All right.
Do we want to maybe replace one of the questions then with what is at each of these 4 locations? Oh well, what are they trying to find? Maybe even ask specifically, what are they trying to find at the Moorholds, and then separately, what are they trying to find at?
I was going to say, I think
Shan?
Speak with Dead is a single answer. Like, you can't say, what's at all of these locations?
Yeah.
Or you could if the answer was like items that they need.
Yeah.
Like you can answer it as one, but you can't be like, yeah. I think one of the questions I have there is like the first question I had, and I just want to quickly check this with you, Reese, on like a technical level, is like, what's your last memory, including how you felt? Like that's not 2 questions. It's just like, can you also explain this part of how you felt?
I'm not going to be tricksy with how you word it and then go, actually, that's 2 questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But let's just remember as well, I've brought up the spell here. The corpse only knows what it knew in life, including the languages it knew. Answers are usually brief, cryptic, or repetitive. And the corpse is under no compulsion to offer a truthful answer if you are hostile to it or it recognizes you as an enemy. I'm pretty sure you guys are safe there. This spell doesn't return the creature's soul to its body, only its animating spirit. Thus, the corpse can't learn new information, doesn't comprehend anything that has happened since it died, and can't speculate on future events.
Okay.
It'll answer as it knew when it died.
That's right. Yeah.
I think the only question we should change then is the last one.
Yep.
Because the rest of them are still ones he can answer, and still ones that will help us.
Yeah. What do you want to ask?
We kind of know what's significant.
Should we pick one? And
we did one of the questions, I think, because I think we talked about this last time. We did talk about like, do we want to make a question about like what's the relation between the Mournlands and the dream world? Is that? I mean, I don't care. We can do whatever we want.
That's not a bad.
I don't know, but they might not know.
He might not know, but
he might not know any of them. Like he might be like, I don't know. I wasn't in charge. How do I know if the Canth people took over?
Yeah.
So I guess for a bit of context, then, so we're assuming we know who this is. We're assuming that it's Artuno. And his journal was leading up to some things are happening. I'm curious about them. I'm getting a bit worried. Journal entries end.
Yeah. Imagine if it's actually Josu's body. That'd be so sick.
Oh, but he might not be willing to answer questions.
You weren't enemies then.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, honestly, are we even enemies?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to like fill the words in, but like,
yeah.
As he was when this happened, he didn't even know who you were.
Yeah.
I think it's more like if you go and kill Josu now and then cast Speak with Dead on him, like he'd be like, I know who you guys are.
It's a few.
Fuck you. I'm not fucking answering.
I said, "Fuck you, miss," with a P. All right. Who's doing it? You got it, don't you, Molly?
What's that?
The skull?
Ghost is holding the skull.
Okay.
I thought Hera did. I thought Hera had the bag.
That would make sense if Hera had the skull. That sounds in character.
All
right,
I have it to hold politely. But I suppose I'll pull the. It's in a dragon shard.
It's in a dragon shard. So you pull it out. And maybe give me an Arcana check here.
Uh, 21.
Nice. As you pull it out, and you have seen Ghost use a dragon shard before, and I can't remember whether you have not used one, but you pull it out and you can feel that the spell is sitting inside this dragon shard, the Speak with Dead spell. you've read about it in the past that, you know, what verbal and somatic components are used for it and such, but you feel like you kind of just hold this dragon shard near the skull and almost you don't know what to do with your hands, but you kind of will the spell out of the shard to be cast. Upon doing this, you just get the reconfirmation that to cast a spell from a dragon shard can be done by someone holding the dragon shard. So it doesn't have to be a wizard to cast a wizard spell, so on and so forth. Just for information, because I know you found the Incite Greed one as well. A person holding a dragon shard, if they know the spell inside it, if they know what is inside it, can release that energy.
Interesting. I sort of just pick that up as I'm casting it, sort of thing. It's not my arcane knowledge allowing me to cast it.
Correct.
But my arcane knowledge allows me to understand that anyone holding it could release it.
Yeah.
Blinded by the LED light. Point of clarification, that is specific to dragon shards?
That's correct.
So it would not be the same for a spell scroll.
A spell scroll you can attempt, and there will be checks involved.
Okay, cool.
I think the difference almost that I'm picking up there is the spell scroll is the casting of the spell.
Correct.
The dragon shard, the spell is already cast
Correct.
into it. It was just locked in there.
Yeah.
To be released. The casting's already done.
That's correct. It's more the energy that's been done.
Yeah.
You approach the skull. Maybe you've placed it on a sleeping roll or something, like, you know, so you guys can step back. Any of you can talk at this point, and you feel the energy release from the dragon shard as it loses its color and becomes hollow, once more available for a spell to be stored in it. And the skull re-clicks its jaw into place, and even though there's no eyes in the eye sockets, you see just faint green energy floating there as the skull comes to life and takes a breath.
There goes nothing. Hello.
Can you hear me?
What is your last memory, including how you felt?
You see it furrow the brow and almost move its jaw around a little bit. And it says in a almost raspy voice, as there's no vocal cords attached to this body, it's just the skull. So its energy is coming out. Defiance met with the blade. Identity lost. Scared.
What was the ultimate aim of those doing the transference to others?
Winds change within the building, even though there's no wind in here. And the green flares up. A cure turned obsession.
Did the Kenneth operatives effectively take control of this facility?
you feel the room almost go cold as the skull turns from a furrow to like almost a reminiscence. Did the Kenneth operatives appear to change? How's it going to answer this? It will say, Warforged came with a solution to those wanting an answer. Those wanting anything for an answer.
Sorry, I'm just going to quickly jump in just to clarify. Do we know if the Kenneth operatives were Warforged?
Yes. It said a Warforged from House Kenneth arrived.
Yeah, okay. Warforged. So what you just said, that they arrived, and they were like, yeah, like a bit of like that for the man with a hammer. Any problem is a nail kind of idea of like they were like, yeah, this will fix everything if everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's what I'm picking up. I'm picking up that some of these guys might have been shifters and have been looking for a cure or at least it's maybe down that path, perhaps. But we can discuss that once we've got all
now
the doors.
I'm gonna do a little bit of GM intervention here. Question 4. You probably could figure out yourselves. Unless you want to ask it, for sure. Just because of what was in the letter. You're muted, Ian.
I think you're right. I think we maybe do skip that one.
You're free to ask it. Just referencing the letter that you have read already.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, and he's almost just answered that with the question 2, with it turning to obsession.
We maybe want to ask, is the cure they were looking for a cure to being a shapeshifter?
I think that's
Is that
not
worth
bad.
even knowing?
Well, it may be, because it might help us. I mean, I think we have an inkling that the religious schism between the shifters, that like we know what the two sides are, and those two sides, one of them is the Emerald Claw and one of them is this house, this chain, this arm of Jurassic.
Yeah.
That's my
Maybe.
suspicion. That's not something we have confirmed, so we can get confirmation. The other thing I was going to say is we
Yeah.
could try and follow up and learn a little bit more about Kenneth's involvement, like because our question was, did they take control? And the answer we got was they used it on every problem, which doesn't quite answer like, were they the ones making the calls here? You know, it sounds like they were the ones who knew how to operate the machinery. So that's just another point we could. I mean, we still have 2 questions, right?
We've got 2 questions left.
Yeah. 2 questions. I was thinking we could. I don't know if it's too broad, but yeah, I would almost ask what he knows, what the shifters have to do with the Warforged, or what House Kenneth have to do with the shifters, or something along those lines, maybe.
We don't know.
Right,
Yeah, my suspicion is Kenneth, being who Kenneth is like, hey, there's like technology here and like something we can learn, and let's go and do that because I like that technological side of it. But we don't know. That's a suspicion of mine, so I don't really mind. I guess we've got 2 questions. I think asking one question about Kenneth in some way is probably a good idea, and asking another question about, what was the other thing we wanted to check? Oh yeah, the Mournlands and the Dreams. Maybe we can ask that one first, and we can.
Did we want to ask about the Mournlands or the Moorholds?
I don't think
about them.
Yeah, I don't think we need to ask about the Moorholds. Personally, I think
unless we want to know what I guess what we're trying to look for what the item could be.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll even know that.
Yeah.
No.
He wasn't. Yeah. by the take I get from his diary, he was involved, but not necessarily.
The green energy swirls around the skull.
I don't know how long this lasts for. What else?
When we're playing Baldur's Gate, there's like the 6 options sitting there, and we're both just having a discussion.
Yeah.
I think I would like to know if what they were what the reason they started all this was, if the cure they were looking for was the cure to shapeshifterism. However you want to word that.
I think, yeah, it's hard because we don't have confirmation, but I think Jed's right in the sense that the two sects of shifters that split screw that have been looking for and the great aim of a claw sort of thing.
Yeah.
I also think we have an answer to that question, which is that sounds like Kenneth was just doing it on everything. They're like, you got a broken arm, let's replace your body. You got a cold, let's replace your body.
Yeah,
You've got a mortal injury, let's replace your body. So it might have been something that's come out of that as a way to do that, but it does sound like it was being used, like from what we understood, it sounds like they just did it to everyone who came here.
Yeah, it just became
eventually did it to everyone who came here.
The solution to everything was just restart as a robot, essentially.
So, should we ask then? So I do want to know more about Kenneth. Yeah.
Yes. No, I definitely think we should ask a question about Kenneth. Maybe we should ask the other question first about the Mournlands and the Dreamscape, and maybe that gives us something else to go on.
Okay.
What do you think? Or do you want to ask 2 questions about Kenneth? Because the thing is, this is Hera is asking these questions, and because I know that Kenneth concerns you both. I'm personally very okay if you think Hera's like, actually, I'm fixating on Kenneth right now. I'm going to ask 2 questions about Kenneth.
No, I think I don't mind saving the last one to push further into the Kenneth thing.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's also important to see if he knows about the Mournland. How do I want to phrase this? Do we want to know if he knows there's a connection, or about the connection, or the relevance of
I think the relevance is more. What is the relevance of the Mournland?
Yeah. It's like, what is the connection between the Mournlands and the dreams and the dream world? Something like that.
Okay. What is the relation between the Mournlands? Would he know it as the Mournlands, or would he know it as what it used to be called?
You believe that the journal is from this year, so we'll definitely know it as the Mournlands.
That's true. Yeah. What is the relation between the Mournlands and the Dreamscape?
What is the relation between the Mournlands and the Dreamscape? Here you almost feel like when you ask this question, you and the skull lock eyes, even though there's no eyes in the socket, and it almost feels like you are taken a little bit out of time. It feels like, you hear the birds in the jungle kind of slow down a little bit. And it says, a continent lost wanting to be found.
Interesting. Okay. Molotov, did you want me to push to Kenneth's involvement. Is there anything you want me to ask specifically?
I think if you know anything about Maeve, I don't think so. Maybe. I think it's more important that we find out what's their interest in changing. Like, 'cause what was the first? Yeah, they came with a solution for those wanting an answer. So I think we want to find out why, I guess, they did it, or why they were they're sending Warforged around to robotify the world. If that's what yeah. I think if we're getting specific, what do you know why Kenneth was doing what they were doing to Jarosco? This sect of Jarosco.
Okay.
Thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what to ask. We've got some good information so far, I think.
I'm very sorry. I was busy reading my old notes. What was the question you were thinking about asking?
Why was House Kenneth doing what they were doing to Jarosco?
Is that something he's likely to know?
Well, it seems like he was stumbling upon the truth, and
Okay.
that's why he died. So it might be, or
perhaps we
with
have
that, if we want it, in the off chance that it's not, do we want to ask maybe? You said defiance was met with a blade. What were you defying? That might come up with a really generic answer of like fucking disloyalty or some shit.
It also might have nothing to do with Kenneth. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to ask something about Kenneth, I think we need to ask about Kenneth.
It doesn't have to be specifically Kenneth.
I was just thinking, like, obviously it's what he knows, and obviously he died earlier this year, I guess. But I was going to say, like, you know, given what we talked about before, do we want to know the past or do we want to know the future kind of thing? Or like, do we want to know, like, you know, is Kenneth, do they know everything that Shapiro knows? Or, you know, like, are they in on what's going on? Or were they just here because they were interested in the machine kind of thing? That was but I don't mind either way. Either question's fine.
Yeah, so, yeah. I think the simplified version, I think they're still kind of both the same question, right? Mine's just a simpler,
yeah, sure,
less broad, like less, not less broad, more broad,
less specific. Yeah. I don't know how to make mine into like one actual question either. So yeah, just go for it.
I did have a quick thought, but I suppose we probably.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Now's the time.
Know ourselves already, but you were saying just before about how he died. We could ask who killed him.
You might not know.
Yeah,
You might not know, and it might not be important really either. In the end, like.
No, I suppose.
If it's Josu, does that really matter? Like,
No,
if it was Josu or if it was one of his underlings, is it any?
Give you my little theory. I think it was Onus or Shapiro, maybe. So Shapiro, whoever it was, one of them got really upset and defensive, and I was like, "Yeah, you guys killed him," and he was like, "No, no, no." No. I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I reckon it was that guy.
Interesting.
Or at least he watched
He
as
was
it
part of it.
happened.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then perhaps we ask the Kenneth question. Okay, how are we wording this?
Why were they doing what they're doing?
Why? Okay.
Why were they doing? Yeah. Why were they doing what they were doing here to House Jaroska?
Okay. I will ask that question. I'm not going to go through the whole question again. Hear his voice.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is why were
Why was
Kenneth
House Kenneth? Yeah.
Getting involved, or why was House Kenneth
Doing what they were doing here? Yeah. Why were they doing? Yeah.
Okay,
To House.
okay.
Yeah, why was House Kenneth doing what they were doing here to House Jaroska?
The skull's eyes kind of flicker out a little bit before reigniting one last time with this green energy, as with its final breath on its second chance of saying things. It says, you guys have to figure out how to word the questions. I got to figure out how to word the answers. House Kenneth was the brand on the shoulder. Conversion was the idea of the professor. And then the energy disperses out almost in a little shockwave, and the skull kind of goes as limp as a skull can and just falls off to the side.
Was it conversion? Was that the word, or transference? What was the word that he used?
Conversion. Yeah.
Conversion.
Kenneth was the brand on the shoulder. Interesting wording there, Reese.
Hmm.
Do we know if Keeling was a professor? I know he's an alchemist.
Yeah, I kind of just blanked on what I had referenced him as in the journal. I think it was Dr. Josu Keeling or something. Whatever that word is, if that's what it would have used.
Yeah, they're talking about Josu. That's fine.
Yeah. It's just that as the skull wouldn't have just called him by his name, basically.
Yeah. No,
because he was interning.
House Kenneth was the brand on the shoulder. Conversion was the idea of the professor. Interesting. Okay.
The energy dissipates from the room, and everyone kind of feels that breeze kind of go off them. And as we return back to normal, the spell's ended. The dragon shard empty.
All right. What have we learned?
So there you have 5 answers. If someone wants to go through them, what they've written down, just so I can make sure that you heard everything.
Yep. I've got the last memory. Oh, you. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. The last memory was of defiance met with a blade, but they were scared and their identity was lost. The aim of the transference was a cure that turned into an obsession. Kenneth operatives use the transference as a cure on every problem. and about the relationship between the Mournlands and the Dreamscape, a continent lost wanting to be found. And that House Cannith was the brand on the shoulder, conversion was the idea of the professor.
So just on answer 3, did Kenneth effectively take control of this facility? What answer did you get there?
Cannith operatives use the transference as a cure on every problem.
I think the answer was more...
Warforged came with a solution for those wanting anything for an answer. Those desperate for an answer is what I'm taking that as.
Yeah.
They were the answer to a question that Josu, we now know.
That's more what it was insinuating.
Desperately trying to find. Yeah. Whether that was coincidence or not.
So, Josu was desperate.
Yeah. For a cure to something.
Yeah. Which, if would be shifters, would make sense because his niece is a shifter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if anything, without directly asking the question, we've learned that Josu was a shifter.
Yeah.
And wanted to cure himself.
So I've changed mine.
Can I ask Ghost a question?
Sure. I can answer as best I can.
Because it is something that you would probably able to answer. I'm going to ask him if he's ever seen on his many investigations, having the whatever it is, the lens out while he's been looking at both Onus and Shapiro.
Yep.
If on either of them in their Warforged forms did he see a mark specifically similar to the one on my arm?
Oh, sure. The mark of House Cannith.
Yeah,
he can reflect back on that when you guys revive them. That he obviously kept an eye on both Shapiro and Onus as well. Keep in mind that they're their own little thing is going on there. We've got some information that's sitting with them. No, there's no mark on them.
It's possible the mark is only on the originals. It's not the.
And yeah, as Warforged did arrive, a delivery of Warforged arrived. They would definitely have a brand if they came from House Cannith.
Yeah, but these are constructs of their own.
there's a difference between a brand and a mark, though. Yes.
Yes, I suppose.
Just a thought. If I had to ask.
But they both were Warforged, as you know.
No, my head was going towards, do they need some form of mark to make the whole thing work?
Sure.
Right.
How Park might not know this, but I guess he will ask now that we've talked about Kenneth and the arm thing. How long ago did you do that to yourself?
Guess the mark or take my arm?
The arm.
I suppose it would have been probably around. I'm just trying to remember my notes because I just don't. I would have to dig into the thing, but it was while I was at university, so it would have been within the last 4 years. I imagine he was already well established when he made the arm. So let's say 2 years ago.
Recently.
You showed it to Kenneth, right?
before I cut myself.
You showed them a prototype of the arm.
So
before you
yeah, the way it all went down was what my wanting to go to Shan was. That was where I knew Kenneth was, and I knew that the mark matched Kenneth's mark. I didn't know any more than that. Went to Kenneth, befriended, was still knew enough to keep it secret. Befriended someone in Kenneth, a low-ranking member, but someone close enough. Got a meeting essentially. Revealed the mark because I was like, these guys are amazing. Like, they're exactly like me. They like making shit and all of that. They're gonna accept me straight away, and they'll see that I'm marked like them. They're gonna, they're gonna love me. And then that did not work out, and so we tried to escape. And
so yeah, they specifically came looking for you.
They came looking for us. Came looking for a tabaxi, and I was like, it's not safe for us. Well, came looking for us. From what you know, I think we've talked. You might be able to piece together at least that instead of finding us, they found our friend Maeve. You might not know the name at this point, but
I do know the name.
Someone, yeah. Maeve, and so Hera and I went, fuck, neither of us are safe.
And I believe
so,
you saw Maeve get killed by them, or get grabbed by them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. We didn't. I think that was sort of as we saw him getting taken, and saw her getting taken, and that was all.
I more should word it. You saw her getting taken in a pretty brutal, like they captured her basically.
And we assumed taken around the corner to die, not yeah. We assumed she was dead. Is the point there? So we sought refuge with the college that Hera had already started investigating. Had started doing research at, and was like, we could join the college for real. And I'm imagining it sort of as like a Hogwarts type dealie of like, they almost are their own sect and had therefore their own protection from things like the houses. And if we allied ourselves with them, at least within the school, we would be safe. And
a place to stay.
Yeah, and it was there that I was like, eventually decided, well, this mark has caused so many issues. What's a way that I can fix this and get rid of it? So I tried the chopping the arm off thing. That didn't work out, as you know.
Okay.
There you go.
I'd say it worked out pretty well, actually.
I'm wondering if once you showed them the arm, we know that they've been looking for you. Are they trying to use this as maybe a way to recreate what you've done, or further research into that? Living metal kind of idea?
No, so again, when I showed them,
He just showed them the mark on his actual arm.
I showed them the mark, not the metal arm.
Oh, I thought you said you showed them the mark and the metal arm, but before it was installed in you.
No. So it was showed them the mark as I was when I was born. And
right. Okay.
That was what, and like it was the fact that I was born with this thing that supposedly is only within their house.
Yeah. Okay.
That they are.
And so they got pretty
coming to me. Yeah, and it was then their reaction to me having the mark that made me go, well, I don't want the mark anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
But the mark is more persistent than that.
Did you bring enough for the rest of us, Dale?
There's so much.
Just keep it coming, Jay. Just keep it coming.
I'm sure Toast would be happy to share with you.
Well, she wasn't sharing her treat with me this morning.
So I
got up
complain about our dog. You know, like the Bugs Bunny communist meme, and it's like, no, this is my food, and it's like, and then but when it's your food, it's like, oh no, this is our food.
Yeah. I literally got up to say good morning to her this morning, and she had got like a little bit left of it's like a bone thing that you can chew through. Like a little bit left. She just started fucking growling. And, oh, we should have had that last night.
Okay, cool. All right, well then don't worry about that. That my thought was irrelevant.
Yeah. It might be a thing because there was something about living metal we just heard about in a way, or the word living metal was brought up. I just can't remember where. Anyway, no.
Maybe in like the cogwork protectors of this place.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think I wrote it. I'm just trying to find where I wrote it down, but I think I wrote it down as like a note to self of like making making use of more living metal sort of shit.
Yep.
Be like, can I extend the arm? Can I make it?
Well, that's
arms?
probably a thing that is flicking around in Molokov's mind here is you chopped off your arm to get rid of the mark, but you used here as help to replace your arm with this metal arm. And you have enhanced your life by adding a metal component to your body. It's almost, it made complete sense. It still makes sense, but now you're kind of realizing, well, what have you got carried away with that? What have you had decided to replace your lungs, or what have you had decided? It still makes sense in your head, but you're now seeing the kind of almost the dark turn of this is.
Yeah, and I think even going through there, those thoughts crossed my mind of like, oh, like this, the arm is obviously why Molokov has a strength of 18. You know, like what if he turned his legs into that? What if he did the other arm? What if he gave himself some new eyes?
And I guess the question that must flick through your mind is what would be wrong with that?
Yeah.
In a normal, sane line of thinking, what would be wrong with improving yourself? And that's probably what's just flicking through your mind at the moment.
Yeah. When do you stop being a cat?
Not only when do you stop being a cat, but is that important?
Yeah.
What's better, cat or robot?
Robot cat.
So that was just a little bit of a correction to that answer number 3. And then you've obviously got the rest of the answers there as well. So back to the party.
Suppose we know now at least we have to get to one of these points and either, I guess, stop or start or find out what they need. Get a hold of
hate to say it.
one of the pieces of the puzzle.
I hate to say it, but it sounds like the most pieces to find. It's going to be at Shan. And you can really see that Molokov doesn't like saying that. That's.
Why do you think there? My concern is that Shan is a big city. He will be finding a needle in a haystack.
City.
We don't even know what we're looking for. At least we have, in the Mrawholds, we know something to do with fire and possibly a volcano. We have more of an idea of what's going on there than we do in Shan, don't we?
Sure. My only thought there was, theoretically there's one answer to what's going on in Mrawhold, but there's potentially multiple answers waiting for us in Shan being that it's one of these spots of interest, and also is a point of power for House Kenneth.
So we'll bring in as well, in his absence, Ghost will probably bring up. I think he'd be okay to share, and I don't know whether he has before or not. But after he left home, I don't think he's divulged why he left home and all that stuff. But he went to the Moorholds, and that's where he learnt his craft with the dwarves up in the Moorholds. How he learnt to forge. That he will definitely have at least one contact up there, but that was a place of construction and invention and innovation up there. He'll say that they were on the forefront. They were making things that shouldn't exist. They were using the powers from the mountains to create items of power. Blah blah.
Molokov saw more.
He did say why.
Moorholds were after. Yeah, I think he did say.
Yep, go on, Jude.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say he has said all of that, and like he has said that he ran away from home, kind of stuff.
Yeah,
his dad was angry, and he ran.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be. Oh, fuck. Might be better to ask Ghost in person, but would he know of where the mountain gets its power from?
Sure, it's the molten rock that goes through them.
Right, so it's yeah, okay, gotcha.
So it's a volcanic mountain range that the dwarves have used to harness that. Jed, if you think to what was it called, Hamner Hall or Hamner Mines, you've got he describes it as like they've channeled lava flow into a forge, and that's what that extreme heat they can smack that, and magical energy pulses from it or something, whatever.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
How do you play World of Warcraft? But that's like I know the city.
Yes, yeah. Basically, goes on to explain that the dwarves were also a big player in creating not necessarily weapons but fortifications for the war, the 100-Year War. They were used there. They don't belong to a house, but almost the people that weren't associated with a house would, instead of going to Cannith for weapons and stuff, would go to the dwarves of the Moorholds to get armor, get weapons, get fortifications that could rebound with force fields, and so on and so forth. And that's how Ghost got involved in the army, is through the dwarves of the Moorhold.
Interesting.
I'm just saying, I think that might be a slightly easier place to find something.
Yeah. Don't have to try to convince me too hard to not go back to Shan.
If you have a very good reason to go there, I'm very happy to go.
On the flip side, Shan has the information, the libraries, the university, the safety of the university, like you just spoke to, Molokov, that you and Hera inherently have.
And as a little side thing, not important to the main quest, but definitely our little side quest of supposedly Maeve was seen there.
That's the professor's old eyes, mate.
Yeah. So whatever the fuck that means.
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, we need to get back to Newfield, and once we are there, that will decide which way is available for travel.
I also agree with the idea of going to the Moorholds now, while we're over this side of the continent.
Actually, just on that thing about continent, while we're saying that word, the relationship between the Moorlands and the Dreamscape, a continent lost waiting to be found. Are we thinking? Because I guess in the same way that we have Asia is a continent. It's but it's also attached to Europe. Are we thinking that the Mournland is being considered a continent, and therefore the Mournland is actually in the dreamscape? Like, because that's kind of the implication I get from what's said.
I'm feeling. I've read that more as the dreamscape.
Wasn't there a continent that was banished or some shit?
Yeah, I think that's the dreamscape might be the banished continent of the Dalkir. So the Dalkir were on Moor or Mere or something like that. That's been banished into this dreamscape, and it wants to be found. I think they fucked with something in where the Mournland now is, and the continent of the dreamscape went and punched through because it's trying to break out. Who's that up the top there, smirking away? I'm watching you.
It's just interesting hearing theories.
I think that's what it's mean by continent lost wants to be found. I think the continent is trying to break through.
Yeah. That's definitely
not good.
No.
Just as a sub headline there, not good.
Yeah,
not good.
Over my studies, most continents not really a continent on them. The history lessons I've read.
But that probably is a good point, Jed, as well, is that continent doesn't necessarily mean something the size of Khorvaire. And also there's translation differences and stuff that, you know, continent could mean land, it could mean island, it could mean world, it could be, you know, so on and so forth.
I'm just going back over our notes, and we have the sorcerer locks them away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we ever really knew who the sorcerer was. I think we thought that it was Tiranesh, probably, but maybe it's not.
I think we assumed Tiranesh,
Yeah.
So by any means, you could assume that she had aid in that event. Because she was referred to as a sorceress, yes.
Yeah, we interrogate. This is like when we were. Sorry, Dale.
She knew about plane walking, so would have been beneficial to any sort of spell or magic to force someone else to walk a plane.
Yeah. When we were in her tomb, we interrogated a changeling who was like, "Yeah, we're here to wake up the sorceress who did this sort of thing." So, like, we're pretty sure it's her. Okay.
All right. So the decision, regardless of speculation and all that, that's the one. Sounds like we're going back to New Throne with old mate.
Okay.
I think that's the plan, and then from there, trying to get wherever we're going.
Sure.
Preferably Moorholds, but if we can't get there, then Shan.
See your options in New Throne. See what the go is.
Well,
yeah.
Even if we get to somewhere, I think like we said before with Lightning Rail.
Yeah. If it's going to be feasible, I think we'd prefer to go to the Moorholds. I think it's sounding
right.
And if feasible is in is it a sky bus and a train, or is it a sky bus, a train, a wagon?
Yep.
Boat.
Yep.
Well, it's getting out of Kabara.
Yeah.
Where there's no connection.
Yeah.
And then getting from that point where we are out of Kabara to it depends how far that takes us. Our first leap out of Khorvaire.
Yeah. Yep. The consideration as well that the Moorholes is a bit more remote, but Shan is also a major city, so that could also give you options as well. You've got two very solid options either way you decide here. That's almost where the fork in the road is. So what I'll say is if you're happy to go to New Throne first and then make your decision, you pack up your stuff. Garunda will kind of be packing Leclerc with his stuff. He will join you on the journey back to New Throne. He suggests, why don't we go back via the little village, grab a boat, and go down the river. It'll save a lot of time. They already regard you guys as heroes. We can play on that and start the journey. So we'll pick up next time when we are arriving in New Throne. So you've got the week to make the decision. And hopefully Michael can be back next week as well to be part of that. So as you go into the jungle, we zoom out and fly across the continent. And we find ourselves in the top of a tower, looking out over the kind of glittering, sparkling lights of the city of Staralaska, as a skyship, relatively small, approaches, and a ramp comes down, and a tall, slender figure awaits at the bottom of the ramp as two elven figures walk down. And we hear the tall figure say, "Welcome back. There was less of you than I was imagining." And Shapiro will answer, "Yes, it seems we might have a problem on our hands." And Josu responds, "Call the inner circle together. We must act quick." And that is where we'll end the session.